What happens when someone's voice is completely silenced? When a person is told that their thoughts do not matter. Today we are discussing one of the most haunting short stories ever written, The Yellow Wallpaper, written by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. At first glance, it may seem like a simple story about a woman losing her mind. But beneath the surface, it is a powerful critique of gender roles, mental health, and the consequences of oppression. And by the end of this video, you will understand the metaphorical meaning in the story, how it reflects the treatment of women in the 19th century, and why it remains relevant even today. So if you love literature and critical analysis, subscribe to my channel for more such content. In the late 19th century, societal norms were heavily patriarchal, with women often confined to domestic roles and their mental health issues frequently misunderstood or dismissed. The term rest cure was developed by Dr. S. Ware Mitchell, and it was a common treatment for women diagnosed with hysteria or other nervous conditions. This treatment mandated complete rest, isolation, and prohibited activities like reading, writing, or any form of creative expression. Gilman herself underwent this treatment and found it to be more harmful than beneficial. Her personal experience inspired her to write The Yellow Wallpaper as a critique of this oppressive approach to women's mental health care. Now, coming to the story, the narrator and her husband rent a grand, secluded estate for the summer. The narrator describes the house as a colonial mansion and notes an inexplicable sense of unease about it. John, a physician, dismisses her feelings and insists on a rest cure, confining her to a room in the house and prohibiting her from working or writing. The room she occupies was once a nursery, featuring barred windows and walls covered with a yellow wallpaper that she finds unsettling. Now, isolated and with little to occupy her mind, the narrator becomes fixated on the room's yellow wallpaper. She spends hours analyzing its complex and confusing patterns, which she initially finds irritating and ugly. But as time passes, her obsession deepens, and she begins to perceive a sub-pattern beneath the main design. She believes that she sees a woman trapped behind the wallpaper, struggling to break free. The narrator's mental state gradually deteriorates as her obsession with the wallpaper intensifies. She becomes secretive, hiding her journal and her true feelings from John and his sister Jenny, who acts as their housekeeper. She starts to believe that the trapped woman in the wallpaper is shaking the pattern, trying to escape. And determined to free this imagined figure, the narrator begins peeling off the wallpaper. Her actions become more frantic, and she waits eagerly for nighttime to continue her efforts undisturbed. And on the final day of their stay, the narrator locks herself in the room and throws the key out of the window to prevent anyone from entering. She tears the wallpaper with all her strength, and she is convinced that she has liberated the woman trapped within it. When John manages to open the door and sees the chaotic scene, he is horrified and he faints. The narrator, now completely detached from reality, continues to creep around the room, stepping over John's unconscious body each time she passes by. Therefore, this story highlights the detrimental effects of the rest cure and serves as a critique of the oppressive treatment of women's mental health in the 19th century. So at its core, at its heart, this is not just a horror story. It is a protest against the way women's mental health was treated in the 19th century. And the main theme of the story is patriarchal control. One of the biggest themes in the story is how women were controlled by men, especially in medicine and marriage. John, the husband, represents society, and he dismisses his wife's feelings, calling her silly and hysterical. He controls everything, her thoughts, her emotions, and even her physical space. He refuses to let her write because he believes that it will tire her brain. And Charlotte Perkins Gilman wrote this story based on her own experiences with the rest cure. She was prescribed this treatment and it nearly drove her to madness. Through this story, she exposed how women's mental health was ignored and misdiagnosed. The yellow wallpaper itself is the most powerful symbol in the story. Because at first, the narrator hates the wallpaper because she finds its patterns disturbing. And as she spends time alone, she begins to see a woman trapped behind it. And this trapped woman symbolizes the narrator itself, who is confined, ignored, and desperate for freedom. So when she tears the wallpaper down, it is both an act of rebellion and breakdown. Now, this story can be seen as a story of madness because she completely loses her grip on reality. But this can also be interpreted as a story of liberation because she finally escapes the control of her husband. So, either way, the wallpaper represents oppression, mental illness, and the struggle for identity. And this story is a feminist classic because it exposes how women's voices were silenced. The narrator is not even given a name, and this is a sign of how she is erased as an individual. Her husband and society believe that women should be passive and obedient. Her descent into madness is a result of being denied her freedom and identity. And even today, women's health issues are sometimes dismissed and misunderstood. The struggle for recognition, independence, and mental health awareness is ongoing. And this story remains a powerful critique of gender roles and medical neglect. However, the ending of the story is open to interpretation. The narrator crawls over her unconscious husband, saying that, I have got out at last. But what does this mean? Does this mean that she has escaped mentally, or has she completely lost her sanity? Now, there are critics who believe that this is her ultimate victory because she has broken free from societal expectations. But this can also be interpreted as a tragic ending because it shows how oppression destroys a person's mind. Now, what do you think about this? Do let me know in the comments. So, in a nutshell, The Yellow Wallpaper is more than a horror story. It is a feminist critique of medical and marital oppression. The yellow wallpaper symbolizes the restrictions placed on women, and the narrator's descent into madness is both tragic and symbolic because it is a reflection of what happens when someone is completely silenced. And this is why the story remains one of the most powerful feminist texts ever written. So if you think that this video has helped you in any way or the other, do like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.